Topping today's news, a police officer shot in the line of duty on Monday night. A man accused of a Saturday murder spree earlier this month appears in court. There is concern regarding what appears to be an uptick in sexual assaults against women, and the 2023 Carifta track and field team has been named. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Jcn. This is your JCN Evening News. It's a pleasure to have you join us. The Royal Bahamas Police Force is waging war. This much coming from Police Press Liaison Officer Chief Superintendent Chrislyn Skippings following an overnight shooting, the incident that leaves a 31-year-old police officer in hospital nursing injuries to the face. The officer was shot in the early morning hours this morning after attempting to pull over a vehicle with 3 occupants when the backseat passenger opened fire, hitting the driver of the police cruiser in the face. Chief Superintendent Skippings, along with other officers, were on the scene this morning to brief the media on what transpired, also giving an update on the condition of the brave injured officer.
It was around 12:30 this morning when officers from Operation Ceasefire, they were on routine patrol on East Street, traveling north, when they observed a small black Nissan Note with 3 male occupants traveling at a high rate of speed. This vehicle turned onto Robinson Road and was traveling west at a high rate. The officers, utilizing their beacon lights, attempted to stop the vehicle, at which point a rear seat passenger of the black Nissan Note opened fire on the vehicle, which resulted in the driver being shot to the face. I can say that the driver was taken to hospital, where he presently remains in stable condition.
An aggressive island-wide search resulted in the suspect's vehicle being recovered in the Garden Hills area, crashed in bushes through a track road behind the community park. The 2 males, ages 25 and 20, were arrested. A search of the immediate area was conducted by officers and canine units, which resulted in a large quantity of suspected marijuana being discovered. Since then, police have arrested a 3rd suspect who they are questioning in regards to this matter. Chief Superintendent of Police Michael Johnson, the officer in charge of the Criminal Investigations Unit, telling us more.
Because of our aggressive patrols, our saturation patrols, the initiative by the Commissioner, we was able to take 3 suspects who are presently in custody. 2 of them are on bail for serious offenses, and we continue to see this with these persons who are on bail for these serious matters. 1 is outfitted with an ankle monitor. They continue to offend, although being on bail, and continue to offend for the same type serious matter that they are on bail for. We will not be discouraged, and when we determine that if the evidence suggests that these persons are indeed our suspects, as we are early in the investigation, they are assisting us with some information, they will be put before the court.
To that end, police are taking a no-tolerance approach towards those who continue to commit crimes and those who insist on engaging the police.
We will not tolerate your behavior. We will not. We will not tolerate you seeking to engage police officers who are authorized to protect the citizens of this great country. When you seek to engage police officers, I can say to you, police officers are qualified, they have the necessary training, which could likely result in someone who seeks to engage the police being fatally wounded. We are going to be resolute and we are going to be firm. We are not tolerating this type of behavior. No longer. It will not. and you will see an aggressive approach on criminals. We are actually waging war on the criminals to take back this Bahamas.
Police are encouraging family members, friends, and neighbors who know of anyone that may be in possession of a firearm and are actively engaging in criminal activity to reach out to your nearest police station or anonymously contact the criminal hotline at 328-TIPS, 328-8477 on the Family Islands. That number is 1-242-300-TIPS. Following that early morning shooting, the incident that left the police officer hospitalized, Minister of National Security Wayne Munro reiterating that one of the methods of monitoring the streets is saturation patrols, which will result in police coming into more frequent contact with gun-toting menaces to society.
And this is a stark example that the police, when threatened with lethal force, will respond with lethal force. These people who decide that they want to be menaces to our society, the only line between us and them is the police. And so I encourage the public to look at this whole thing in that context. The more patrol vehicles we put on the streets, the more likely the police are to come across these persons who are wreaking havoc in this country, and that will increase the likelihood of confrontation between them and the police.
The officer is currently listed in stable condition. Criminal investigators have also launched investigations into 2 shootings. A suspect who attempted to evade police is detained in hospital, while a 28-year-old male of Price Street who was shot in a separate incident is also in hospital nursing injuries. According to police, shortly before 10 a.m. on Monday, while on East Street South, officers of the Mobile Division, while on routine patrol south of Coxway, observed 4 people, 3 males and 1 female, in a white Nissan Cube acting suspiciously. The officers intercepted the vehicle, instructed the passengers to exit. They all complied. However, one of the suspects, the front male passenger, refused to comply with additional instructions given by police. Police reports indicate that officers observed the male pulling a firearm, and the male was subsequently shot. He fled the scene on foot onto a nearby property with officers in pursuit. Moments later, the suspect returned to the main road where he collapsed. He was taken to hospital via emergency medical personnel, where he is detained in serious condition. Police recovered from the suspect a quantity of suspected marijuana along with ammunition. 1 hour prior to this incident, shortly before 9 a.m., a 28-year-old male of Price Street, Nassau Village, was walking in the neighborhood when he was approached and subsequently shot by a male who exited a burgundy Nissan Note. The victim was taken to hospital via emergency medical services personnel, where he is detained in stable condition. Investigations into both of these matters continue. As the country's justice system attempts to put another alleged killer behind bars in an attempt to keep Police Commissioner Clayton Fernandez's goal of less than 100 murders for 2023, an accused double murderer was hauled before the magistrate's court on Monday. 29-year-old Larry L.A. Albury faced Chief Magistrate Joyanne Ferguson Pratt, accused of committing 2 murders just minutes apart about 2 weeks ago on Saturday, March 18th. At his arraignment, Albury was charged with 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of attempted murder. Prosecutors say Albury shot and killed Junior Rosstand, a 16-year-old student of Government High School, and attempted to kill Joshua Adderley while on Akil Close, Montel Heights, and then allegedly made his way to Nassau Village, where he shot and killed Ronaldo Williams, 28 years old, and attempted to kill Thorne Morse outside a home on Sampson Street. According to police reports, officers responded to its shot spotter technology first in the Montel Heights area around 9:30 p.m., where they met Rostan and Adderley suffering from gunshot wounds. The males had been shot by a gunman who emerged from a track road off the east-west highway. Less than 10 minutes later, police received another alert of gunshots in the Nassau Village area. This time they met the lifeless body of Williams. Albury was not required to enter a plea to the murders on Monday, nor the attempted murder charges. He was denied bail and remanded to the Bahamas Department of Corrections until July 27th. Albury is being represented by attorney Bjorn Ferguson. The man, now a rape suspect who sexually assaulted a woman at gunpoint after offering her a ride, has had his day in court on Monday. 1 week after 40-year-old Kennedy Ingram of Coral Harbor sexually assaulted the 33-year-old woman in his car, he stood before Chief Magistrate Joyanne Ferguson Pratt in Court Number 9, charged with 1 count of rape. According to police reports, sometime around 9 a.m. on Monday, March 20th, the victim was walking in the area of Bacardi Road when she accepted a ride from an unknown man to her, not known to her. He was driving a burgundy-colored vehicle. The man then drove the victim to a residence in the area of Coral Harbor, parked, and left the victim inside the vehicle, only to return brandishing a handgun moments later and sexually assaulting her. Ingram was denied bail and remanded to the Bahamas Department of Correctional Services. He returns to court on July 27th for service of a voluntary bill of indictment. Meanwhile, the country saw an uptick in sexual crimes during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in recent weeks there have seemingly been an uptick in sexual assaults against women as well. Fortunately, many of the offenders are successfully being charged before the courts. Minister of National Security Wayne Munroe, before heading into the weekly cabinet meeting today, says it is concerning that more men and women are losing respect for each other.
From the last year crime statistics, sexual offenses were up. Though that was a class of crime that increased during the pandemic because people were inside, and that arises. As I continue to say, we make it comfortable for persons to report these things, and the fact that this is another element of criminality that's on the rise tells us that people are disordered. So when you think that you can force yourself on someone, be it a man or a woman who is doing it, that person's upbringing couldn't have inculcated in them that you are to respect people's privacy if you expect them to respect yours.
In 2022, there were 55 rape incidents reported to police, which represented a 15% increase compared to 2021. Minister Munroe says he is hoping that the damaging and long-lasting consequences of being added to the sexual offenders registry will deter people from these types of crimes.
We continue to say, and this is a stark example, that the police, when threatened with lethal force, will respond with lethal force. These people who decide that they want to be menaces to our society, the only line between us and them is the police. And so I encourage the public to look at this whole thing in that context. The more patrol vehicles we put on the street, the more likely the police are to come across these persons who are wreaking havoc in this country, and that will increase the likelihood of confrontation between them and the police.
Again, just last week, a woman was sexually assaulted at gunpoint after accepting a ride with an unknown male in the area of Coral Harbor, and another sexual assault incident occurred on Exuma just this past weekend on Saturday, March 25th. This time, the woman knew the male whom she was catching a ride with, and he has since been taken into custody. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back after these commercials.